On today's episode of the EOTI podcast, I am thrilled, I am elated to welcome the O01 of the Executive Council because I have with me the president of the Executive Council of Emmanuel Onyabo Tax Initiative. So, welcome, welcome. Can you please introduce yourself? I want you to introduce yourself to our audience.
Thank you very much, Marian. My name is Athanasius Akor. I am the president of the Executive Council at the Emmanuel Onyabo Tax Initiative, EOTI. I'm also a senior associate at the law firm of J. Elias, a tier 1 law firm in Lagos. And personally, I'm very, very passionate about the youth generally, about them achieving their life goals and welfare. And as a result of that, I formed an organization, a non-profit organization called Excellent Minds, where we assist the youth in achieving their general life goals. And also, I'm a preacher of the Word of God. So that's just a short and a brief introduction about me. Thank you.
Athanasius, that introduction, you've called it, you've termed it short, but I want to say it's short in your view, but it is power packed. That is why I did not bother mentioning your name. I wanted you to just introduce yourself by yourself to us. And it is something that I just have to mention right now at the beginning of the episode because I can now see why by these people, I mean you and the rest of your executives align so much with the vision that Emmanuel Onyabo has for EOTI. Because you as the O01, look at what you're telling us, you have an organization called Excellent Minds. You're passionate about youth. You're passionate about, as a preacher of the Word of God. I'm sure the rest of the episode is going to be as interesting as it gets. So yes, welcome. Welcome again to the EOTI podcast. I feel so honored to be the one having this conversation with you. And so let's just get right into it. How did you become interested in tax?
My interest in tax actually started from my university days. I happened to offer the law of taxation in my final year in the university. And I was quite fortunate to have been taught by a set of lecturers that were not just teaching us the theoretical aspect of tax, but they were also giving us the practical aspect of it because 2 out of the 3 lecturers were ex Big 4 employees. So at the time, they were really teaching us just not, like I said, the theoretical aspect, but also the practical aspect of it. So the information they shared with us generally about tax at the time, at the time where I was more or less an undergraduate looking for bearing in life generally. They opened us to the possibilities, that there are in the world of taxation, right? So how that tax, cuts across and, touches virtually everything, So it was actually a game changer for me as a person. And since then, I became so interested in learning more about tax, getting to also know people that are in the areas of taxation and then getting to learn more about what they know in the field of taxation. Yeah. So it actually started from my university. My lecturers actually spurred that interest in me. And actually that communicated into my practice when I started working at J. Elias. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so permit me to ask, what school did you graduate from?
Okay, so I graduated from the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, UNN.
I am not surprised. I am not surprised because it seems you people had, lecturers that were passionate about tax. Because most of the people I've interacted with from UNN that studied law, they beyond EOTI, there are people that are passionate. They are lecturers made them see something very, very, very beautiful about tax, right? I mean, even yesterday I came across someone who is a law graduate from UNN, and she's currently writing her ICANN exams. She also mentioned that it was because of her lecturers that she became interested in tax as well. And I can really see it because the passion with which you people talk about how you became interested in tax. I've heard a lot of people talk about a tax club in UNN, and I guess it was really something worth joining. But beyond that, I also want to say the lecturers definitely had a positive influence on you people, for you people to really want to, grow out of the school system and still want to further it on your own. And it's just amazing. It's just amazing.
Yeah, they did actually. They did. For me, I was not even so privileged to be part of the tax clubs in the university. So, in fact, it was just all the information and the guidance I received from the lecturers that spurred my interest, in the field of taxation. So they actually did a good job.
Oh wow. Wow. So while we're still on this topic, just tell us what sparked your interest in pursuing a career in tax.
So, like I said earlier, right from the university, some of the information we received, like one of those information was at some point a lecturer telling us that tax it's everywhere, that in every areas, in every field of studies, in every field of endeavor, tax it's also a very, very veritable indices that should always, or that is always taken into consideration in that area. So they made us to understand how that, tax is important for every seasons, right? And what that means is the market woman in the very informal sector in the market is worried about what tax holds for her. Also, myself as an employee, I'm worried about how I'm affected by the tax policies and the tax laws that are in place. Also, the multinationals are worried about, what the tax implications of their transactions are, right? So it was actually something that really intrigued me, to get to know that there is an area of law that cuts across everything. So it's not just about you doing a thing before you'll be affected by it, or a particular thing, but the fact that everything you do has something to do with taxation. If it is not exempted, if whatever it is you're doing is not exempted for taxation, then one way or the other, it has to be affected by it. So I'm just excited, really, being part of something that I know has a transgenerational relevance, right? So that's really what sparked my interest and what intrigues me so much about taxation and growing in that area.
Oh, great, great. So do you mind telling us what steps you've taken so far in your career?
So thank you so much for that question. So in 2020, I started out as an associate in the law firm of JLS, like I mentioned earlier. And one of the things I was privileged to join is the tax team, where I had the opportunity to learn from some of the best minds in the tax field that are also lawyers. So fast forward to 2025, I was promoted to senior associate role in the same law firm. And currently I lead the tax team. So I actually have the opportunity generally right now to, to learn firsthand from my partner and head of tax, who is also a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Taxation of Nigeria. But beyond that, I also started out with my ICANN qualification examinations in 2022, just because of my peculiar interest in taxation. I just wanted to see how everything intersects, from tax to finance, and then also to law, right? So that spurred my interest in also starting out my ICANN qualification programs. And fortunately, I concluded the program in May 2025. I'm currently awaiting my induction into the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria. Then also in April 2024, I was also inducted into the Chartered Institute of Taxation. of Nigeria, and a couple of other courses that I've done on international taxation, and then also other areas in tax. So these are the steps I've taken so far. Apart from practical experience, I've also taken the time to develop myself, to get to learn also from the theoretical perspective what the principles are, while I continue to apply them to my practical experience, and to advise my clients as well. Yeah, so that's where I am now currently in my pursuit of my growth in tax.
I see that you are making great progress, or that you have actually made great progress. And allow me to say congratulations to you on completing your ICANN exams. That is no small feat, and it is well deserved. Do you mind sharing? Because I want us, we are currently talking about, your professional interest and your journey so far, right? Before we base or we dwell on EOTI proper. But do you mind sharing what has been a memorable learning moment or experience in your journey?
So my journey really, I think I've been saying already, it has been quite a memorable one actually. I've been in the same law firm since I started out my practice. I've had a couple of memorable experiences. I guess I will just share one that stands out for me. Every human being is intrigued when he or she wins. So one of the areas, or one of the memorable experiences for me, was winning a case, a landmark case in tax, sometimes in January this year. So this case actually has to, just a bit of background, has to do with the Finance Act 2021, a provision in that Finance Act that had to do with excise duties on carbonated, non-alcoholic, and sweetened beverages. So we're approached by our clients to seek the interpretation of that provision before the court. We commenced that action at the Federal High Court, and, sought the court's interpretation on that provision. So we're so excited actually, in January this year, the court delivered a landmark judgment in that suit in favor of our client. And one of the reasons it also stands out for me is the fact that I started that particular matter from the beginning. It's a landmark case, at least as far as the field of taxation in Nigeria is concerned. And I was actually part of the team all through the process. Yeah, so it's actually an experience that has stood out for me, in the course of my practice. And then as well, I think I have another experience where I had to, represent a client before the tax authorities, and then I got a very huge reduction in tax assessment, from the tax authorities on their behalf, leveraging on the provisions of the law. So these are actually some of the memorable experiences, I've had in the course of my journey, so far. And then fast forward to EOTI, I would say it's just the climax sort of this my journey really, because of the very good experiences I've had at EOTI, just the past few months since we launched. I guess I'll just leave it here so that we'll delve more into EOTI.
Since you have already started, I truly, truly love the transition, and it's definitely not too early for me to call you Star Boy, right? So let's just delve into EOTI, and please do tell me. I want to know, and I'm sure others listening also want to know, what attracted you to join EOTI as an executive, or to even sign up for this mentorship program?
Thank you very much. In fact, I've been looking forward to answering that question. Yes. So, the founding tax mentor, Mr. Emmanuel Lunyabo, is actually a man I admire a lot. And, funny enough, he was my senior from the university, University of Nigeria and Suka. But it was so funny that we didn't have that very good personal relationship all throughout school. But when he started out in practice, I saw that he was so much interested in taxation. A couple of people, although I didn't have the opportunity to intern at his firm where he was a senior associate before he transitioned. But a couple of people that met him at the time, had a lot of, positive feedbacks, to give about him. His passion about ensuring that people thrive so well in their career, especially, in his where he has to bring out his A game, which is in the area of taxation. So when I started practice as well, and then I discovered that I was developing a lot of interest in taxation, I reached out to him. So even before EOTI, Emmanuel Onyabo was mentoring me, before EOTI was launched. So when he reached out to me, it was really not a question of whether I wanted to join. It was more or less like, how do you want me to come in? In what capacity am I going to be relevant to your organization? So I saw the opportunity then as something that I was never going to let pass me by, right? If you've known Emmanuel Onyabo before now, you know that he's a man that, if you are working with, you are being mentored by him, you just know that that particular area of your life, by the grace of God, is settled, and not just settled, but other areas as well. So he was actually the person that attracted me, to EOTI. His person, his charisma, what he generally stands for, is excellence. So when I received that invitation, it was not really an issue for me to just jump in, right? Because of the person that he is, and the fact that whatsoever he's standing out for, sticking out his neck for, must, be the best of his kind. Yeah. So that's actually how I got into the executive council at EOTI.
Now, wow. When you were speaking, that was the only thing I kept saying. Now, wow. Now I'm jealous, so because Emmanuel Onyabo, by the time you are listening to this, please know that I want to sign up to be mentored by you, because I know what I've heard from all the people that I have hosted on this podcast. I am applying now publicly to be mentored by you, Emmanuel Oyabo. But yes, it's actually nice to know that it was the person of Emmanuel Oyabo that attracted you, to join EOTI. Now, how has mentorship shaped your thinking and also helped you, grow professionally?
Thank you for that question again. So mentorship really, personally, I was not really into the mentorship thing from the very beginning. And I wouldn't say I'm regretting it, because I got it right along the way. And I'm so grateful to God that I met my mentor at the moment, Emmanuel Onyabo. Though I didn't even sign up for the last cohort, but I always have a personal check-in session with him, just to mention his kind of person and his level of generosity towards ensuring that, those that are working with him, right, are not losing out on any side, right? So how it has really shaped my experience, it's the fact that it has given me so much clarity really on my career path. Emmanuel Onyabo would call, especially when he sees that we're being so engaged with activities of the organization. He would call and say, "Oh, what's up? What about this? How are you planning on this? When are you doing this? When are you taking this step?" So it's more or less like, trying to just ensure that I don't become so comfortable. When I was promoted to senior associate in my firm, he basically called me, and the way he congratulated me, the next thing he told me was that he said he's not concerned. He just doesn't want this promotion, to keep me where I'm not supposed to be for a long time. So that's the kind of person I've been mentored, by. So this has really shaped my experience. That's really helped me to aspire for more. That's helped me to just know that wherever I think I am now, I have somebody who has really achieved much more. Really. So it's not a matter of, oh, you are doing so much where you are. I'm just looking at him. I'm looking at all of our mentors, many of them achieving a lot wherever it is they are already. So they are more or less like the future that some of us are aspiring to be. So what the mentorship has done for us is it has more or less brought the future down to us where we are at our current state, and is then helping us to really see what we want to be, the processes, the procedures we need to follow to achieve and to get to wherever it is we are looking forward to being. So it has really helped me personally, and it has shaped my experience. And I must say I'm grateful really for the gift of Onyabo and the gift of EOTI. Yeah.
Great mentors. May we know them and may we be them. Yes. And I heard you mention something around, how EOTI has helped you, EOTI or even mentorship in general has helped you gain clarity. So, do you mind sharing a moment where your role as an executive at EOTI or even your discussion with your mentor helped you gain clarity or even confidence?
Okay, so I think I'm going to share about maybe one or two experiences here. So there was a meeting we had with the founding tax mentor. That was recently, actually, one of our check-in sessions with him. And then the next thing, I don't even know how the conversation went, but the next thing he mentioned was, I hope all of you have DOM account, and I hope you are saving in foreign currency. That was really the highlight of that conversation for me, because at the time I had a DOM account, but I really was not seeing the need, for having maybe for saving in foreign currency, but he took his time to explain to us how that is quite necessary. And I must say, really, what that discussion did for me was, to give me that so much needed clarity in that area, just to show to you that EOTI is not, especially our mentors and especially Onyabo, is not just interested in that area where you are beneficial to him, but also where you as a person are gaining from and are benefiting from. So that advice alone, all of us were so excited after that conversation that day. And immediately, I had to just tell my wife, okay, look, we are going to start doing this from month end. And since then, I must tell you, we've made reasonable progress in that regard. So that was one of the clarities, that I've really gotten, from EOTI. And then also leading the executive council, by virtue of the fact that I am a preacher of the word of God. At least I've had the opportunity to, be in a couple of organizations or a couple of gatherings, really. But what EOTI has done for me really is to provide me with that structured system, sort of, where you are not just having to do things arbitrarily, but everything is being regulated. You are reporting to someone. So, for instance, if I'm making a presentation, I have my mentor, there to listen to me, to commend me, more or less to grade me and tell me, oh, look, this is where you didn't get it right. You're not supposed to mention this. You're supposed to mention this, really. So all of this come at EOTI. In fact, we have knowledge sharing sessions where we just share generally. And in the course of the knowledge sharing session, one of the things you will see is Onyabo, pours himself out, right, to, give out correction on different things, clarity on, even as minute as PowerPoint slides. Onyaba will get to the root of that to explain to you, to give you clarity on how that is or how it should be, and how that whatever it is you are presenting, it could be better, right? And then also being the face of EOTI, that there are a couple of engagements when we receive, for instance, invitations for some sort of functions. I personally have to, just next to Mr. Onyaba and the mentors, it's myself. So I personally just have to be on the face of all of these things. And I must say, one of the things I have gained so far is that so much confidence, to stand before as many people as they are, to speak, and then also to represent my organization very well. I recall one webinar we were invited for. sometimes this year after we launched, and it was the EOTI platform that actually gave us that visibility. We went for that webinar, and funny enough, one of our mentors was at the webinar. He joined and he was listening. So when we were done, he went back to my mentor and told him, gave him feedback on his observations and the rest of them. So these are actually some of the advantages and some of the clarities, right, that I've gotten. My confidence has actually been really boosted. The fact that I have somebody that I can always get back to and say, look, the way I did this thing, do you think it's the best? Do I need to develop more? Do I need to do more than I am doing in this? And I will receive the very needed clarity in that area. Yeah, so that's really what EOTI has done for me in the area of clarity and confidence. Yeah.
And yes, it makes sense. It's actually good that we have people that are able to give us feedback, on how we fared with regards to presentations, webinars, workshops. It's good. It's good that you have such people that are able to provide feedback to you. And it's also good to know that EOTI has helped you, or through your role as an executive in EOTI, you've been able to gain clarity, which is something that most people lack, to be honest. And most people are searching or learning, how to grow into that state where they are able to, gain clarity with regards to issues. And it's good. That's a very good thing. So what do you think, or how do you think EOTI is helping bridge the gap between aspiration and actual growth?
Thank you for that question. In fact, that's actually the core. It's one of the core themes. Let me say one of the core objectives of EOTI. What EOTI does generally is to bring people that are accomplished professionals together with early people that are in the early stage of their career. And what that does, like I said earlier, it's more or less to give one clarity in terms of where you intend to be and then where you are at the moment. So I will give a practical example of this. I had a conversation with one of the tax mentors recently, and then I just told that, Doc, look, you are more or less the future I am looking forward to. You're more or less the future I'm aspiring to, because you have everything at the moment that I'm looking forward to having, right? So, and I would say, but for EOTI, there wouldn't be that kind of access, right, to such resource persons, but for EOTI, I wouldn't be speaking with a very well accomplished professional like Marianne on this call today. So that's actually what EOTI has done and what EOTI stands for. EOTI helps to ensure that even at the early stage of your career, you are able to access very accomplished professionals also in that same field. What that does for you is like I mentioned earlier, it gives that high level of clarity, because you're speaking to someone who probably has made certain mistakes, and the person is also guiding you on how to ensure that you don't make those mistakes, right? And then also every theoretical knowledge you think you have had, you now have people that have had years of hands-on experience in that same area, who are able to guide you. So whatever it is I am aspiring today, I have mentors at EOTI that are already that thing, and they are becoming more of that thing. So it's just for me to, look forward to them and then engage with them from time to time. And we are fortunate to have all of these tax mentors, right, from, different continents, not just not just one continent, not just, let's say, for instance, Africa, but we have them from different continents. Right. And what that does for us is that it helps us to ensure that whatever we are looking forward to, even while we are here at the early stage of our career, we are able to, have access to those resource persons that will give us all of those information that will enable us to make very, very good progress at the early stage of our career. Yeah. So that's really what EOTI stands for, and I am a beneficiary of that already. Like I mentioned earlier, I've had access to mentors that ordinarily I wouldn't have access to, and what these people have done is to give me a history of their experience really in the field of tax, how they've navigated a lot of things. So what it helps me to do is that gap, between what I am aspiring to be and where I am at the moment is clearly being bridged now because I actually have access to the people that are in the place, that I'm looking forward to getting to. So really, EOTI has offered me this opportunity, and I guess it's something that is really very good for every aspiring professionals, even professionals at the moment who are looking forward to, advancing in their various endeavors. Yes. So thank you.
Spot on. Well said, well said. And as we wind down on this, segment that talks about mentorship and growth through EOTI, I would like to ask, I want you to share your thoughts. What do you think makes mentorship so valuable for early stage, tax professionals?
So, in answering this very excellent question, I would say that as far as every professional is concerned, I think, and in my very humble opinion, I think that mentorship is indispensable as far as thriving in one's career path is concerned. And now narrowing it to tax. Tax is a very complex area. And if you've observed over time, you'll see that a lot of professionals run away from tax because they feel that tax is quite technical. They feel that it's an area that they wouldn't want to dabble into because of the lots of complexities in it. So what mentorship does for you, it's to open that door that you probably take, let me say, years of making mistakes, years of trial and error to achieve. Like I mentioned earlier, one of my experiences with the founding tax mentor, he told me, okay, I don't think I've mentioned this. It was a conversation we're having. And then I told him about my career goals, my plans for the next level, of my career. And then he advised me on what to do, from his own wealth of experience. And then in the process of that conversation, I discovered that same decision I was taking way later was a decision I ordinarily ought to have taken, years before that time. But then at the time, I didn't have a mentor. So I didn't have somebody, that would just, call me back and say, look, it's time for you, to take this decision. It's time for you to make this big move, So what mentorship does for every early career professionals is to help you to avoid the many hurdles and the many mistakes, that other accomplished professionals have made. So let it not, so that it doesn't sound like, oh, I'm learning from experience. I can as well learn from the experience of a mentor and not make that same mistake again. So that is why I think very well that, mentorship, it's really very, very, very important. And that is why at EOTI, it is at the core of everything that, EOTI stands for, raising, the next generation of tax leaders, and that can only be achieved through mentorship, through ensuring that you get through to these people, to take the appropriate decision at the right time, and then also to guide them and ensure that wherever it is they get to, and they are looking as if they've accomplished everything, they can always look forward to someone and then see the next level, that they should aspire to get to. So I feel mentorship helps you to give you a clear roadmap as to how you should chart your career path. So it's really very, very important, and I am a beneficiary of it at EOTI, and I must say that I recommend it for every tax practitioners, every aspiring professionals, and even those that have become accomplished in an area who would want to also look at other areas. Yeah. So mentorship is really very important. And at EOTI, we have a couple of professionals, some that have almost 10, 12, 15 years of experience that are not actually mentors, but they are mentees in the organization. And some of them, when we interview them and we ask them, oh, why are you joining us? You have decades of experience already in this area of taxation. And they will tell us they want to develop in other areas, maybe international taxation, transfer pricing, and that they feel mentorship is the next way forward. And they feel submitting to mentorship will really help them, to achieve that goal. So we've had a lot of people like that. And I think also from my own experience that it is indispensable as far as early career professionals and even professionals that are really thriving in their particular area of taxation, it's concerned. Mentorship is indispensable for all of us. Yeah, thank you.
To all those listening who are still doubting whether they need a mentor or not, this is your cue to get signed up for a mentorship program. It is highly beneficial. Yes. And so, what has your experience been like so far as an executive? I mean, I know you've talked a lot, you've said a number of things about, your experience with regards to Emmanuel Onyabo, with regards to, the access you've had. But beyond that, can you tell us the wholesome experience you've had so far as an executive at EOTI?
Thank you very much. My experience has been quite outstanding. And one of the things I would say is, as an executive council, a member of the executive council, and not just a member, but as the president of the executive council, I have access to, not just the mentors, but I have access to also the members of the executive council, where I have to, to lead them and then also to take very strategic decisions about the organization. So one of the things I have observed is, and I've learned, being in the executive council is, as a leader, you just need to always know that you are not a leader leading followers, right? But you are a leader leading other leaders. So these leaders also that you are leading should always, have a voice. They should always be allowed to be heard. And what I have seen at EOTI is a platform where even the least on the ladder would give an opinion. And if that opinion is found very viable, that opinion will not be thrown to the trash can, probably because the person it's not of a particular cadre in the organization and even in the executive council. EOTI is a virtual organization and the very first of its kind, really. And I must say it's the very, very first of its kind. So we are charting new paths, charting new course, no existing precedents really, to follow. But I must say that what that experience really has done, for me particularly, is that it has really, really helped me to also learn, right, certain leadership skills that are, clearly outside of, the technical skills that we all know, some very, very soft skills, and I think I would just maybe share one experience I had recently in the executive council. So we needed to take a decision, and don't forget, these decisions are decisions that would affect, people's future in the organization. We needed to take that decision, and then all the members of the executive council had to come together, including the founding tax mentor. We just had to brainstorm on that issue, and in the course of our discussion, then I discovered personally, certain things about myself, from the feedback I was receiving, even from the founding tax mentor. And what that did to me personally was that I discovered I was learning some very, very soft skills that ordinarily I wouldn't learn outside of the organization. At the point he told me, "Oh, Athanasius, it seems you are the soft voice in the room," and then he was just telling us, and we're all laughing, but that's how my experience really has been. You're working with a team of excellent minds, a team of great leaders, people coming with very different ideas. And by the time you, collapse all of these ideas together, you come up with a very, very resounding decision, that, would chart a very new course for the future of the organization, right? And what it also has helped me personally as an experience for me is the fact that that platform where the voice of everyone is heard, opportunities given to everyone to, to develop, to grow, and to be the person they really want to be, it's one of the things that really stand out for me. And I must say that my experience has been, nothing short of, heavenly bliss, really, at EOTI, right? Without, exaggerating. It's really been an excellent one.
Did I just hear you say heavenly bliss? I don't know what you people are doing in that executive council. Emmanuel Onyabo, you need to add me, not just to the list of people you mentor in the next mentorship cycle, but you also need to add me to the executives. because I cannot miss out on what these people are enjoying come next cycle. Yes. How are you using the EOTI platform to develop yourself professionally?
Thank you very much again for that question. So, what the EOTI platform really has done for me is to first of all give me access to information that I ordinarily wouldn't have. EOTI is a number one, a virtual organization, but it's not just an organization that is limited to a jurisdiction. It is an international organization, that has links across borders. We have mentors from different continents. We have volunteers also from different continents, and then we also have mentees from different continents, right? So how it helps me to develop myself, it's number one, every Saturday, by 7 p.m. in the organization, we have a knowledge sharing session. And in this knowledge sharing session, it's more or less an avenue for us to keep ourselves abreast of development in the field of taxation in several jurisdictions. So we'll have people from presenters from different countries. And also recently we had a presenter from Egypt. We had another presenter from Kenya. So it's not just the development in the Nigerian tax landscape, but from, in different jurisdictions, right? So what that knowledge sharing session really does for me is it helps me to get to know what is happening in these other jurisdictions. And then by the time I want to do maybe further research in those areas, I can just easily reach out because there is clear access for me. I cannot just easily reach out, take their slides, look at them, and then if I need further information, I can just easily reach out to these people. So this is that level of access, sort of, right, that the platform has given to me to develop myself. And then again, UTI is giving me opportunities, speaking engagement opportunities. Yeah. So I mentioned earlier how we're invited for a speaking engagement. The Nigerian Bar Association, a session on business law, right, of University of Ahmadu Bello University invited us sometimes this year on the platform of EOTI, to have a webinar with them. That's also that level of access we've had, and then also the visibility that I've personally had, through EOTI. And then also, I would say networking of opportunities. Yeah, it has also given me that, like I said earlier, I recently reached out to, a tax mentor, introduced myself, and then it was not really difficult for me to have access there, really because of EOTI. Somebody that I wouldn't even know at all. Maybe I would just be seeing, let's say, a post on LinkedIn and all, but then I have access to the person, through EOTI. And what that does for me is I'm able to access all of this pool of experienced professionals, their resources as well that they have at their disposal. I'm really able to, access all of them. Yeah, so these are really the things that EOTI, is currently doing for me. I wouldn't want to really mention what Mr. Onyabo himself is doing already, since I've overflowed that. But then EOTI as an organization, these are actually some of the very important assistance I've received from, EOTI in developing myself, professionally.
I know for a fact that EOTI gives, visibility, because I know that thanks to this Emmanuel Oyambo tax initiative, the influx of LinkedIn requests I have gotten myself, especially when the podcast episodes are aired, and then I'm looking at these people and I'm wondering, where are these people coming from? But yes, thanks to EOTI, the EOTI platform, I've told Emmanuel a couple of times, and I've also told some of my mentees that what the platform does for you, and being associated with a good organization or even institution as well, because it goes beyond EOTI. People want to be associated with something good. People want to be associated with something of great value. And so if Emmanuel Onyabo's tax initiative was not adding value in any way, I'm not sure people would want to be associated with it. I mean, I heard you mention something around being invited for a webinar by ABU Zaria. And it's simply because there is something good that EOTI is doing, which people would like to be associated with. And it's good. it's actually great. It's wonderful to see, and it's something that EOTI should keep up. Also, in the course of our conversation, I remember you also mentioned that yes, this is the first of its kind, and so EOTI is creating a pathway for others to follow, for others to succeed it, and it's just amazing, to say the least. It's actually just amazing. Now, I want us to look ahead. I want us to talk about your aspirations in tax. And do you mind sharing what some of your short term or long term goals in the tax space are?
Thank you very much for that question again. So, looking at the short term and the long term, so I recently started doing a research on tax treaties. That's an aspect of international taxation, and that my research really has raised a lot of questions in my mind, around how countries negotiate tax treaties, how some capital importing countries would go and just negotiate away their taxing rights, all in the name of attracting investment, So in the long term, really, I'm actually seeing myself, in that space where I am able to, not just advise clients again, but I'm able to be on that platform where I'm also part of maybe a team negotiating treaties, before different bodies or between two countries or among different countries, right? Especially on behalf of developing countries, are seemingly the weaker vessel in the room, for lack of a better word. I am actually seeing myself, in that area, the field of international taxation, particularly negotiating tax treaties, on behalf of developing countries. Yeah, so for me, it's now becoming an area that I'm becoming very, very passionate about, and I see myself really in the long term, being in such a space, either before different forums, such as, for instance, the African Tax Administration Forum, to discuss issues, that border on the right of developing countries, and then also appearing before other international organizations, where these issues are being discussed, at a larger scale. Yeah, so that's what I'm actually looking at in terms of long term, but short term, I would say, getting into such space is not going to be just a walk in the park. I know it's really going to involve a lot of work also on my side. So in the short term, it's I'm actually looking at building more expertise so much in that area, right, where I can actually be equipped with the right knowledge and with the right information to stand in that gap. Yeah, so that's really where I'm seeing myself in the short and then the long term.
And you have such great plans mapped out, right? And goals that you're set to achieve. But beyond that, how are you preparing yourself to stand out in this fast evolving global tax landscape?
So, what I'm doing in that regard, like I think I've mentioned in the course of our conversation, it's to ensure that I am involved in a continuous learning process. In the course of the year, I did offered a course, on taxation of multinationals for everyone, where this whole conversation around tax treaties and the rest of them even started from, So I am very much interested in continuous learning, and like I've earlier mentioned, proper mentorship, right? So, these are the two keys really. I am leveraging, to actually put myself out there, and then also to stand out, in the fast evolving global tax landscape. We have wide array of mentors in the organization. There are some of them that are already very established in that area. So I also take advantage of this access, to reach out to them from time to time for guidance. Yeah, that's where, like I mentioned, proper mentorship also comes into it. Yeah, so that's what I'm doing at the moment. Um,
And in what ways do you think that young, emerging, or even accomplished professionals like yourself can contribute to the future of tax leadership?
I think young and accomplished tax professionals, should look forward to becoming leading voices, right, in the field of taxation. What the Taiwo Yedele led committee, it's doing in Nigeria right now. It's a testament to the fact that a young man can just arise, with a burning passion, and goal to ensuring that in a particular area, where he is, the best, of whatever it is that is available, right, in that sector is achieved. And I think it's something that we can actually achieve. So what he has done is, at the point, he was more or less a leading voice in the field of taxation, both in Nigeria and even outside Nigeria, right? And then when the time came for the government to look for the very appropriate person to take up a role, they could not find another person but him. So I believe that as young professionals, we should always aspire to, have our voice heard where we are, and then not just to have our voice heard, but to ensure that we are making meaningful contribution. And this meaningful contribution, it's what the platform such as the EOTI platform, has organized or has put out to ensure that even young professionals, have their voices heard. We have at EOTI now a platform where you can come in, make a publication. I'm sure people in very well established organizations will know that you probably will write an article in an organization as a first year, as a junior, and you'll be the one to produce the first draft of that article, but your name may not appear on that article, so the article will go out. The partners or the seniors are, putting their name out there, but then you as a junior are probably not being seen because you are still a junior. And who are you? Although you went through the entire stress to, produce that article. But then what I see happening at EOTI, really, it's a platform where even an intern, it's allowed to have his or her voice heard. That means if a document or a work product comes from an intern, it is going out in the name of that intern, So I believe strongly that as accomplished professionals in contributing to the future of tax leadership, the first thing first is to ensure that we are not being left out in the ongoing reform, in the ongoing development. So on a daily basis, as information changes are being churned out, we keep abreast of the changing tax landscape, and then we also keep making our own contribution to these changes to ensure that as time goes by, we are not left behind when there is need for any professional to to be sought out, to take up a particular role in tax leadership. Will definitely be the set of people they will be looking for. I must say, even taking a cue from the situation of our very revered Taiwo Yedele, you will see that his advocacy really, apart from the fact that he was a tax leader at PwC at the time, one of the things I knew him for, even before knowing that, he's into, he's at PwC and all of that, was just his constant visibility, ensuring that his voice is heard in the area of taxation, tax policies and all. And it really, paved the way for him to really see that he's at the head of that very reform that he has been advocating for. Yeah, so I advise generally we should always allow our voices to be heard, be out there, putting out your thoughts, very, very meaningful thoughts about development in the tax landscape. And I must say, the future will really be ours if we are doing this from time to time. Yeah.
I mean, you have a host of people that you're actually taking lessons from, whether direct or indirect. And it's good to know that there are people that young professionals, emerging professionals can actually take a cue from. In that way, they would also be able to make meaningful contributions to the future of tax leadership. And as we wind down on this very enlightening conversation, What's one insight or mindset shift that you've had during your journey so far, especially since you joined EOTI as an executive?
Yeah, so I think I have actually shared something similar to this earlier, but I guess I will still mention it. I said something earlier about leadership, right? And I had to learn that, that mindset shift at EOTI, and I have said earlier that as a leader, you are not leading followers, you're actually leading other leaders. These are people at the helm of affairs in their various organization, and wherever it is they are coming from. So if you must strive as far as that organization is concerned, you must learn to value the contribution of each of these leaders. You don't see them as just followers and then, throw away their contribution, but you must also learn, how to continue to engage, and then other soft skills on how, to manage, a group of people or a lot of people from different backgrounds. So it's really one of the things I have, learned and then observed, right? That people have a lot, to contribute. People have a lot that they know and a lot going on that they can share to make a system better, But in order to be able to achieve the goals of, let's say, for instance, an organization like EOTI, you must ensure that the contributions of everyone, are brought together and then taken holistically to develop that system, that you are. So it's one of the things, I've learned at EOTI. And then another thing is the fact that the place that you are headed, right? There is somebody already there. That which you are aspiring to be, there's somebody that is already comfortably seated there. All you just need to do is to learn to follow someone, learn to, look forward to someone, just pack your pride somewhere and then just, follow someone, especially when you see where you are going or where you are looking forward to, just clearly staring you, in the face in someone. It is always good, to just calm down, and follow that person.
Now, do you have any words of encouragement for young professionals navigating their careers?
Yeah, I do. I do actually. And then it will still tie back to all that I have said, earlier. I will first of all say for every young professionals out there, do not be afraid to dare, and then do not be afraid to dream, very big. One very strong leaders that I followed long ago. I still remember one of his quotes. They say that you should not be afraid to dare mighty things. Even though failure may want to stare you in the face. It is better to be stared by failure in the face, but also succeed eventually. Instead of staying just in that place where you are not trying so much and you're not losing so much because you are not actually trying a lot that would even make you to, become a better person, So the quote is that it says, it is better to dare mighty things and win glorious triumph, even though checked by failure, than to bear arms with poor spirits that neither enjoy much nor suffer much, because they live in a great twilight that neither sees light nor darkness. So I would say just keep daring. And then in the course of daring, get mentorship. It's really very, very important. It helps you to, fast forward that journey. It helps you to give, to provide a lot of clarity and prevent a lot of mistakes, that you would ordinarily make in the course of your career. So keep daring, keep being inquisitive, keep asking questions as much as you can, but then you cannot do all of this without the proper mentorship. So that is why it is important. And that's why I would say again, it's actually one of the reasons EOTI, came into force. So I believe it is really, really very important for every professionals, to actually get that right mentorship, even while daring the big teams.
So keep daring and don't forget to submit yourself to mentorship. Wow. So, yes, thank you for that which you've shared with young professionals. And now it is down to me asking you to share any thoughts or messages that you would like to share with EOTI on how it can achieve its vision and maximize its reach.
Hmm. So in answering that question, really, so for me, I am, let me say, the face or one of the faces of EOTI, right? So answering that question is more or less like telling myself, young man, look, this is what you have to do to achieve, your vision. Yeah, but I'm just going to say that, EOTI has, been, killing it very well since it was launched, for lack of a better word. And I mean, an organization that is barely a year, has achieved so much. The level of visibility, and other accomplishments, really, you know, it's just quite amazing. And I must say, because it's the first of its kind, like I've mentioned, it's charting a new course, no existing precedent. But one of the things I see is that on a daily basis, I'm just wowed at the level of excellence, really, that is being churned out of whatever it is that we do currently at EOTI. I listened to a podcast, I think, by the vice president, and then I think one of the things she mentioned, which I agree with, is EOTI, having partnership, with organizations, the big fours, and then maybe law firms and other organizations, of such sort. Which I think is actually at the core of what EOTI, is looking forward, to doing in the coming days. And then also, from my own perspective, I'm also seeing EOTI maybe partnering with and collaborating with some very, very strong voices in the field of taxation globally, right? So I'm looking at, I recently stumbled on what the Tax Justice Network does, how they've grown in ensuring that their voices are being heard. They've more or less become an authority. The United Nations refer to their resources, when they take decisions. The UOCD also refers to their resources when they take decisions. So I see EOTI collaborating, and then EOTI also becoming that very global voice, really, in all of these areas, right? Taking a stand sort of in every areas of tax, decisions that have been taken by countries, decisions that have been taken by tax administrations and or tax authorities in different countries, decisions that have been taken by the OECD, the UN, on tax, really. So these are the places I actually see, EOTI, heading towards, in the coming days. I'm really excited about it, and I'm just looking forward to, us achieving all of these feats.
And I just want to say that by the time we come back to this podcast episode, a few months, a few years down the line, come back to this podcast episode a few months, a few years down the line, we'll be able to see how far EOTI has come with regards to achieving this. I know that EOTI is headed for the top, and so I'm sure that all these things will come in due season. Yes, so thank you so much for your time on today's episode of the EOTI podcast, Athanasius. It was really, really, really lovely, hearing you share your thoughts around mentorship, around your interest in tax, around EOTI, and how you are actually developing yourself. And I'm sure that even in a few mentorship cycles down the line, you would also become a mentor yourself. That is, if you've not already started. I'm certain that you've already started some indirect mentorship. You see? So it's just great. And I'm sure that the next time we have you on this podcast, you'll be coming on as a mentor, coming to share your thoughts as a mentor, how it has been for you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
By the grace of God. Thank you so much, Marian. Thank you for your time. Thank you for having me. And thanks for all you do for EOTI. Really, this is a lot of work and it takes a lot of commitment. That very good relationship, really, to have you, do all of this for EOTI. And as a face, I'm just saying a big thank you and thanks so much.
Thank